Hello there, and welcome to another deep dive.
Hey, good to be here.
Today, we're diving into a story that honestly just keeps evolving. It really touches how millions of us connect, consume content. You know the one.
TikTok.
Exactly, TikTok. And it's a very complex journey here in the U.S.
It's definitely got layers.
Yeah, and our mission today is really to unpack this latest development, another extension, believe it or not, for the potential sale deadline. We want to peel back those layers, the tech side, the politics, the economics, give you a real informed look.
And it's fascinating, isn't it? As tech fans, we look at the features, the algorithm.
Right, the user experience.
Yeah, but this TikTok situation, it just perfectly shows how these huge digital platforms are, well, completely tangled up with global politics and national interests.
It really does. It's becoming this kind of leading indicator for how all global tech might have to navigate things moving forward, that tension between security and open markets.
For sure. So our goal today is simple. Cut through the noise, give you a clear picture of what's actually happening with TikTok and why its future really is a bellwether.
Okay, let's do it. So the big news, the trigger for this discussion. As of June 18th, 2025, President Trump has done it again. Extended the deadline for TikTok to sell off its U.S. operations. And this is the third time?
The third time, yeah. It makes you wonder what's really going on behind closed doors.
It does. It's not just kicking the can down the road. It feels like a significant pause in a really high-stakes game.
Definitely. And the official word from the White House, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said this latest 90-day extension is needed to navigate complex regulatory hurdles.
Complex regulatory hurdles. Sounds bureaucratic.
It does, but it's loaded, right? Leavitt framed it as showing the administration's commitment to retaining TikTok's U.S. presence, almost like a practical step to ensure this deal gets done.
But always with the goal of protecting user data.
Always. That's the drum they keep beating. It boils down to this persistent anxiety in Washington, the worry that China could somehow access American user data via the app.
So the core demand hasn't changed, despite the extensions.
Nope. The U.S. still wants a solution that completely cuts TikTok's ties with ByteDance, its Chinese parent company. It's about severing that connection.
It really does feel like a geopolitical chess match, doesn't it? Washington versus Beijing, playing over this incredibly influential platform.
That's a great way to put it. An app with, over 100 million American users, the stakes are immense.
Yeah, it's way beyond just an app at this point. It's about influence, control.
And what's really kind of brilliant, strategically speaking, is China's countermove here. They haven't just reacted, they've played proactively.
How so?
Well, remember when this all started heating up? Beijing quietly tweaked its export control rules?
I remember hearing something about that, targeting specific tech.
Exactly. Specifically things like AI algorithms and data management tech. Now think about TikTok's magic, that For You page.
The algorithm, yeah, the secret sauce.
That's it. By putting that kind of tech on their export control list, Beijing basically handed itself a strategic veto over any sale.
Meaning they have to approve not just the sale, but the transfer of the core technology that makes TikTok, TikTok.
Precisely. So it's not just about who owns it or where the data sits, it's about who controls the intelligence behind it. That really changes the game.
Wow, okay. And this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? You mentioned geopolitics. This fits into the broader U.S.-China trade friction.
Oh, absolutely. It's a textbook example. Look at the timing. That April extension happened right when Trump announced new tariffs on Chinese goods.
You'd think tariffs would pressure China into a deal.
You'd think, but a lot of analysts argue it actually backfired a bit. It kind of hardened Beijing's stance on TikTok, made them dig their heels in more.
So moves in one area, like trade, have ripple effects elsewhere.
Exactly. It shows how interconnected everything is. You pull one thread in the U.S.-China relationship and the whole thing shifts.
So with all this back and forth between governments, what happened to the companies that actually wanted to buy TikTok? Oracle, Walmart.
Yeah.
Are they still in the picture?
Well, the word from financial watchers is that they're basically on the sidelines now.
Really? Just waiting?
Pretty much. The political deadlock, the sheer uncertainty, it's just too risky for them to push forward aggressively right now. They made their bids, but the environment's changed.
And the source material mentions U.S.-China relations are at a lowest point.
Yeah, that's the context. A deep freeze, really. Which naturally makes the future for TikTok's 100 million plus American users incredibly uncertain. It's like TikTok is the most visible pawn on this much larger chessboard.
Okay, let's pivot a bit to the domestic side here in the U.S.
Hmm.
There seems to be this reluctance to enforce a ban from the administration, despite all the security talk. Why keep extending? Why not just ban it?
Well, it comes down to, politics, pure domestic political calculus.
Could you
Just think about it. A full, immediate ban. You'd instantly alienate millions, literally millions of young voters. That's a huge political risk.
Yeah, the user base is enormous, especially among younger demographics.
Exactly. And it's not just users. Think of all the small businesses, the creators, the influencers who rely on TikTok's advertising ecosystem. A ban hits them hard, too.
So banning could hurt small businesses as well.
Definitely. So by extending the deadline, the administration gets to maintain its tough America First stance on national security, but without actually pulling the trigger on a potentially unpopular ban that could cause significant disruption. It's a way to balance the rhetoric with, well, pragmatism.
A political tightrope walk.
Absolutely.
But while all this is happening at the government level, TikTok itself isn't just passively waiting, right? What's fascinating here is their own strategy. They're fighting back legally.
Oh, absolutely. They've launched a pretty vigorous legal challenge. Their argument is that these kinds of targeted restrictions, especially a forced sale, actually violate constitutional rights.
Interesting. And what's their main point in court?
Their lawyers are hammering home the point that there's been, and I quote, no evidence found linking their data practices to espionage. They're directly challenging the national security justification.
Okay, so the legal fight,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also offering technical solutions, aren't they? Something about U.S. servers.
Right. That's the other prong of their defense. They've proposed this plan, Project Texas, to store American user data on U.S. servers managed by Oracle.
Which sounds like a practical fix, doesn't it? Keep U.S. data physically in the U.S.
On the surface, yes. It addresses the data at rest concern where the data physically lives.
But there's always a but.
But the deeper worry for many in Washington isn't just storage. It's about the code, the algorithms, the potential for ByteDance to still exert control or influence, even if the servers are here.
Ah, so it's about who holds the keys to the kingdom, not just the castle is located.
Exactly. Can Beijing still influence the algorithm? Could they potentially access data through back doors, even on U.S. soil? Those are the lingering questions that Project Texas doesn't fully satisfy for some critics.
So TikTok's strategy is this kind of dual approach, fight it in court, negotiate technically.
Right. It definitely buys time, keeps them in the game, but does it guarantee a final resolution that satisfies everyone? Probably not. The fundamental tension over ownership and control remains.
It's a multi-front battle for them.
For sure.
So what does this all mean for the future? We've got another 90 days on the clock. What happens next?
Well, expect more intense backroom negotiations. You can bet lawyers and diplomats are talking constantly.
But is there much optimism for a breakthrough?
Honestly, limited. The analysis suggests real progress hinges on China's compromise, particularly regarding those core algorithms.
And Beijing isn't looking too willing to bend on that point.
That seems to be the consensus right now. They see that algorithm as a key asset. So we're likely looking at more maneuvering, more strategic positioning from both sides.
It really drives home that point about technology being, well, weaponized in global politics.
It truly does. TikTok's story is the perfect example. It's this perilous balancing act. Data security concerns, massive corporate ambitions, and fierce international competition all rolled into one app.
It's way more than just a business deal.
Way more. It's a test case for the future of global tech.
As these deadlines keep shifting, that image from the source material really sticks with me. TikTok keeps dancing, but the music could stop at any second. It captures that uncertainty perfectly.
It's a great metaphor.
And it makes you wonder, what really stands out to you, our listener, about this whole saga? And maybe more importantly, how might this whole situation influence other tech platforms caught in these geopolitical currents?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? How will other global tech companies navigate these kinds of tensions moving forward? Because TikTok probably won't be the last. It's definitely a space to watch closely.
Absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. We really hope this gave you a clearer, maybe more nuanced view of this ongoing story.
Hope it was helpful.
Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.